Today's the second episode in the Mindset series. Me and Mandy McAllister did an episode last week where we talked about defining your values and why we think mindset is important. Today's episode talks about authenticity. Are you being authentic to yourself and who you want to be, right? Last week we talked about the defining values. Now this week we talk about, are you being authentic to those defining values, right? And it's, quite simple. Are you being who you're supposed to be, right? Are you really living up to who you want to be? So really interesting episode, I think. As always, like and subscribe on Wrestling with Real Estate, the YouTube channel. Go to the WWRE podcast and give me a 5-star rating and write me a review if you think it's worthy. And I'm looking to speak to as many of you as possible. Anyone who wants to chat about anything real estate related or mindset related, I'd love to talk about both with you. There's a link in the description below, or go to wrestlingwithrealestate.com and sign up there. So enjoy today's conversation talking about being authentic.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barry Griffiths. Now today we have Mandy McAllister, the lovely Mandy McAllister, joining us today. It's all the M's because we're working on mindset today. Mandy McAllister. Mindset, Mandy McAllister. I don't know.
Yes, I dig it.
Something along those lines there. Cool. Well, thank you again for being here, for making the time. We had a fantastic episode last time around. It was so cool. I loved every second of it. What are we talking about today, Mandy?
Let's talk about authenticity and what that means. So, Barry, tell me, in terms of authenticity and what that means to you and your growth in your business, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question because, authenticity sounds fancy, sounds cool to talk about it, right? But what does it really mean? That's a great question. To me, authenticity means being who you really are, and who and that's not easy, right, for anyone. Like, it's always be who you are, right? Just be you, right? We get so much judgment from outside, from whatever it is, right? Social media, family, friends, co-workers, bosses, all around, right? And there's a lot of noise that can come around you, and it's sometimes hard to be that authentic you, who you think you're supposed to be, and who it is that makes you happy and makes you feel fulfilled, and every day you're excited about who you are, right? But it's not always that easy, because I know for sure I let other people's voices come into my head, and that challenge is to figure out who you are to start off with, and that goes back to that previous episode of defining your values and figuring out who you are, and then trying to stay true to that regardless of what else is going on around you. That's kind of how I see authenticity. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, I'll piggyback to that. So, I mean, as an achiever, much of my should do in life, you should go to medical school, you play Division I volleyball, you should, do X, Y, Z. I think a lot of achievers end up making their decisions based off of what other people tell them they should be doing. I mean, think about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's kind of the whole basis of it is, are you putting these shoulds ahead of your own decisions of what's going to be fulfilling to you? And I mean, gosh, I was in my 20s before I even realized that I had a choice in this, So, I mean, to be authentic, first you have to know what feels authentic, how to authentically define yourself. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a lot of what we talked about last time, that you have to make those decisions up front of who you are and what you stand for, and then hold true to them. But I think authenticity is what really attracts your tribe to you, and what attracts, all good things to you when you live in your own truth.
Yeah. And again, it's that challenge, I'm sure you talked about it there. You were in your 20s before you realized that you had a choice, right? There was a person that you could be. Yeah. And I think everyone, it's a common theme. And I think you hear it all the time. For example, when we talk about real estate investing, people, they start out thinking that a W-2 job, working for a company, going to college, getting the best grades that you can, then getting a job, working your back to the bone in that job nonstop, you know, and then being that best employee, trying to climb that corporate ladder. And then maybe when you're 60, 65, you can hopefully retire and you're in good health and you can enjoy the last 20 years of your life or something like that, right? And there's a pressure to live up to that because friends, family, whoever, they all think the same. They all think that that's the path. And if you veer from that path, that you're crazy and that you're kind of letting them down. You know, I've heard that a lot of times people, you know, get to interview a lot of great people and they talked about how they felt that if they were to not go to do that job and if they didn't finish college, they were letting their families down because their families had put so much weight of expectation on them to be a great college student, to get great grades, to get a good job, you know, and that weighs you down and that stops you from, and all these people, sorry not to take over a little bit, but all these people, they don't do it in a negative way. They think that's the best place. And so that makes it even harder. But you've got to try and figure out for yourself who you are and what you want to be, and trying to negate these talks or these judgments from outside and figure out for yourself who you genuinely want to be, right? Genuinely, without any judgment, without anything else, you know?
So I could not agree more. And I'll tell you, so I do a lot of audiobooks because I drive around a lot for my day job. I recently finished the 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one regret of the dying is I wish I would have had the courage to live a life true to myself.
Wow.
I mean, this is exactly what we're saying here, that, you know, I lived my life for someone else's ask or for someone else's want. And I actually I'm fascinated by this book I just started, but it's called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Okay. This has been fantastic. It's, you know, it's basically dissecting, you know, the shoulds versus your own definition. The guy who wrote it is a computer engineer, hacker in some way, whatever. But his idea is that you can hack like a life that you want. You just basically reverse engineer it. And one of the steps is defining what it is that you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any maybe suggestions how people, because we talked about that noise from other people, how they can, you know, because I think maybe even a lot of people, they don't even realize when they come up with their goals and their values, how much influence maybe other people have, you know, how can they detach everything and maybe figure out who they are and how they're being true to themselves.
So actionable steps on that, things that have worked for me. I mean, the only good advice I could give you is what's worked for me. And I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of like getting quiet, a lot of meditation, a lot of, you know, spending time by myself with myself so that I can be sure that I'm in good company when I'm by myself, you know. I do a lot of like meditative yoga stuff. It's in those instances that I, you know, really, whenever something is crystallizing that this is the next right step, this feels right, you know, it's in those quiet moments. So if you have a super busy mind, I'm a, you know, single mom, full-time day job and side hustle. And I love having conversations like this. So my quiet moments have to be manufactured. Really put that on your calendar.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the same. You need to detach somehow, I think, because without that detachment, whatever it is it meditation? Is it going on some kind of retreat? Is it just taking a few days for yourself where you just go by yourself somewhere?
Is it a long walk? Is it a long run? Is it, you know, I don't know, playing music? Wherever you feel you can have a completely empty mind, that is where you're going to have this inspiration, and that's where you need to spend some time.
Yeah, because I think it's so important, you know, because like you said, the one of the 5, that's so powerful. What was it? What was the actual quote? The number, the one of the 5.
So it was. So what this book was, it's fascinating. It's a Australian woman who was a hospice nurse, spent a ton of time with dying people, and the number one regret she would hear was, I wish I would have lived a life. I wish I would have had the bravery or the courage to live a life true to myself.
Yeah. And,
I love that book.
That is amazing. That is so powerful to me. And, you know, this, you know, the mindset stuff and everything is just about trying to live a better version of ourselves and trying to live a happy life. And I don't think any of us want to live a life of regret, right? That can, you know, that's something that actually kind of scares me, is to be however old when that happens, right? Is to look back and wish that I'd done stuff differently, and that scares me, you know, to because at that point it's too late, right? And you
Yeah.
don't want to, you know, have to leave this earth and think, God, I could have done more. I should have done more. I wish I'd done this differently. That's a horrible thought, and I think that should drive all of us.
Mm-hmm. I had a really great conversation with a woman I started the Aspiring Women Achieving More group with, that, you know, if you, I don't know what anybody's religious beliefs are, but it is kind of friggin' magic that humans exist. It's, I don't know if you call that magic God, if you call it source energy, if you call it Buddha, if you call whatever you call it, it's friggin' magic that we're here. And whatever magic happened to get you here, how dare you not try to make the full out of your life, out of your potential? How dare you not try to make that happen?
That's awesome. Yeah. Cause yeah, it's almost as if we have a duty, right, to live a better life. Right. And it's, you know, especially if we're, you know, living here in the United States, right? Even though, you know, we have such a great, you know, whatever, politics aside, right? You know, all of us for the most part have a roof above our heads, clothes, you know, food, everything like that. And the opportunity to be whatever we want to be, right? We have that opportunity, and it's almost embarrassing that we squander that, because there's people, millions, if not billions of people who would die for the chance to have the opportunity that we have every single day.
Especially women. I mean, to be born, the genetic lottery I won, to be a woman in America. I mean, the opportunities that I've been able to come across and carve out for myself, you know, my efforts had something to do with it, but the genetic lottery I won had the most to do with it. You know, I couldn't drive if I were born in many countries. There's no chance that I would be in a leadership position if I were born on other continents, you know? So how dare you not do with these gifts you were given what you can?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great place to finish. How dare you, right? Remember that. No, for real. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. How dare you? Think about that tomorrow when you wake up, or when you're feeling lazy today, right? How dare you squander this chance? And I agree. I could not agree more. And, you know, how dare me a lot of times, you know? I'm going to be telling myself that a lot. Before we go, where can people get in touch with you and hear more about what you're up to?
Best place to find me is mandymcallister.com. MandyMcAllister.com.
I'll put that link in the description below. And please tell us how you guys, we asked you last time to tell us what your defining values are. Please share how you're trying to be authentic and what challenges you're finding with being authentic, right? How can we help you to be your authentic self? Because we would love to hear those stories, and we'd love to help in any way you can. And just even have that conversation. Yeah, reach out to either us, or leave the comment in the links below, or whatever you call it. So. Cool, Mandy. That was another great talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.